In the Every Acre Counts program, improving soil health is a key consideration. Our cooperating producers discussed different ways they diversified their cropping systems and made changes in their farming operation.
How important is diversity to you on your farm?
It's very important, from different plant species to integrating the livestock on all the ground to try and let them graze across it. That's a lot of my winter feed is using the cover crops. So I just like that diversification. It balances out if there's an extreme event that may impact one crop or something in one point, that I have something else to rely. All my eggs aren't in one basket, so to speak.
Sure. So just as a recap, could you just kind of summarize the diversity that you use on your farm? Maybe talk about your crop rotation a little bit and how you involve your cattle herd into that.
I'm just about evenly split with a corn, soybean, and small grain rotation, whether it be oats or wheat. And then I follow the small grains with a cover crop, and I use that for a winter feed for my livestock that way, and be able to cut my having to put up stored crops for the winter that way. I just let them graze it on the ground. Don't have to spread manure again or anything. They're out putting it on the land and returning those nutrients back to the soils that way. Splits up my labor a little bit. It's diversified throughout the year. I'm harvesting crops at different times, not all my acres at one time. Just the ability to market different crops at different times of the year also. A little bit of cash flow. I no-till, so that helps a lot too, coming back with that rotation, having a small grain in there in the cover crops, not having to work the soil is another savings.
How important is diversity on your farm? And, talk about some examples of that diversity on your farm.
Well, there's a whole list of advantages for diversifying, as far as, for one example is rotation, obviously. You got workload for one thing. If you're planting crops at combine at different times, that helps your workload. I think that's one. Diversity right now with the marketplace is a little tough. I think that's one thing that hopefully going forward we have a market for more crops than we do right now, because I think our crop, we're trying to grow bulk commodities, and everybody just, it's just corn, beans, and that's not the best thing for the farm as far as diversity and looking to our future. We need to have more small grains. We need to have more different crops. There's just such a huge advantage to doing that. Instead of trying to use technology to fight all these diseases, we use Mother Nature by having more diverse rotation, but it's not easy right now because of the way the system is. There needs to be some crop insurance changes. People need to be instead of right now you're kind of penalized for trying to raise more crops. We have to make them more, to reward the producers that are trying to do that.
Okay. Any comments, Gene?
That pretty much covers it.
Pretty much covers it, because that you're maybe taking a loss on some of your other crops.
And that's the hard part with me being, kind of in charge of trying to make the thing work. As the thing is, though, you look at one year's results, you'll never plant wheat. Mm-hmm. Right? You would never plant wheat. You would only plant corn, beans if you look at one year's results. And that's what I kind of had to get my head around when you sit there and you try to make it every year. You try to make this thing work, and you have this wheat impeding that, for example, or small grains. But he started showing me data that showed me, oh, hold it. You look down, let's see, we planted wheat there that year, but we didn't do it over here. Let's look a couple years down the road. And, oh, what did the beans make? Oh, they look better. So I've come to the conclusion that, we're in it for the long haul anyway. Nonetheless, I still like to make money every year, and but I've come around to realizing that taking the long-term view of the small grain thing in terms of where it ends up later. So I've come around my way of thinking.
It's just better. You're better off by being diversified.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In the long run,
In the
in the
long
long pull. You know what, I always said that our very last year of farming, we're going to plant the whole farm to sunflowers.
We started raising soybeans, I think, in around 1990, and we kept raising wheat and barley, mainly for livestock on the barley end of it, and wheat was just kind of a rotational thing. But over the last 10 years, wheat's kind of become a four-letter word here. We've had so much moisture, and there's just been so many issues with the quality of the grain that we've kind of gone away from that, and then we went to all corn and soybeans for quite a while now, and it's worked, but it's also caused a lot of problems that we're seeing with salts showing up from, beans just don't take enough moisture out of the ground or leave enough residue to really protect it. So we're doing some changes there. Well, we used to have a three-way mix pretty much of wheat, corn, and soybeans. Lighter on the wheat. We've experimented with cover crop some. Now we're working more into that. We were corn and soybeans for a lot of years, and we grew our acres quite a bit. So there was some ground we were going 2 years of beans, then a year of corn, and we could just see problems developing. And even in our good ground, we feel like we can't just do corn and beans there. We need to rotate something else through, whether that's rye, oats, or maybe just a flown-on cover crop. Some things we want to change. A lot of that was driven by profitability. In the corn and soybeans, that's just where you made your money. But we feel like with what we're doing now and the contacts we've made, especially in the rye and the oats, and working with a dealer, helping us guide through this without making any big mistakes. We feel like we can make rye and oats profitable on their own. We know there's going to be a kick the following year, whether it's corn or soybeans, but our goal is to make sure that each crop carries its own weight and hopefully even profitable. But if we can do what we think we can do with it, it's going to be a good thing for the long run of the farm and for Alex and his son, and hopefully, grandson after that, and or daughter, and go from there. So
we know there's a tuition period where you kind of have to push on and get over the hump of the no-till hump, where the soil finally gets to a point where it's active, the water's coming through how it's supposed to, and we're starting to see the life of that system start to come, and we're hoping we're just going to narrow our swings in production, and that it's just more consistent, more resilient, and the extreme weather events we have now, it seems like if you get 3 inches, you got to be able to hang on to that and stretch it for a month. You can't have it all run off. It's just been a total mindset change, I guess, and the diversity comes with that, because there's just different roots and different chemistries you can use, and just different timings of everything when things are using water, and it spreads our workload out as far as time in the field and harvesting and planting. And this was one of the first springs where I just never felt pushed. It's just the workload and everything is just more of a constant versus these huge peaks and valleys of time you got to spend. And it's been nice, really. It's been busier on other things. It kind of condenses your shop work time a little bit, so you kind of have to be proactive, and we'll continue to get better. But there's been a lot of fun things too. The fact that we've been harvesting for a month now has been great when we're not looking at everything this fall and looking at snow knocking on the door, and it's been a fun adjustment.
part of that short-term view is my fault, because I lived through the 80s with my folks and one other brother farming, and it was not pretty. we just did anything we could to just stay afloat. And so you didn't look at things that weren't going to be pretty profitable, or you know what I'm talking about. I mean, you just look short term to what can we maximize our income every year, and we weren't really, you were thinking about long term, but it couldn't be a big player, you know, in our case. And I know other guys my age that are the same way. You know, it's just the 80s are a huge influence, just like for my grandpa, the 30s were a huge influence. The 80s were tough for a lot of people.
That was a trying time.
Yeah.
And it's taking that experience that he had and continuing to help that drive the why and evolving it. Like, we can't afford not to do this, really, in a way, because if we're pushing the easy button and just doing what's quick turnaround and profitable that doesn't play into the long-term goal, eventually the land's not going to work for us anymore, and it's going to have regressed so far that we can't do anything on it. So no matter what we raise, if we can continue to evolve a cropping system that's resilient and sustainable, that's going to work no matter what we're doing or what we're raising off of it. So that's been the driver behind a lot of it.
You mentioned the crops you grow and your cattle, your cow-calf enterprise and so forth, but how important is diversity to you on this farm? What does that mean?
For me, it's kind of crucial for for how for the success of the farm here. I not just diversifying to have more things to do, or doing that, just kind of more complementary entities or whatnot that like the cattle complementing the crop side and the nutrients and things that kind of along those lines, where it's not just to be more busy and have more things to do for diversity. It's kind of trying to be strategic about it. By integrating the livestock more into my crop ground, I would say majority of my fields either have a fence or easily can have fence and water, right there in the field. So I've been using bale grazing, cover crops, anything I can hay or graze, and by not pulling, I try not to hay it as much. If I do, I try to leave that in those spots. That way the nutrients are staying there and helping the cattle, or doing a lot of the work for me, instead of like before we'd haul everything home and then haul everything right back. So I'm just trying to eliminate that step, because it takes time and takes money to do both of those. So
you said you manage money,
moisture,
and time. Moisture's a big one.
Yep. 'Cause we've had some pretty big rains. We never get an inch consistently. It's either you got very little rain or you get 3 or 4 or 5 inches at one time. And if you can soak it up more like a sponge, you can handle a lot of rain. Where you just, I don't know, I guess I kind of look at it as the difference between a sponge and a paper towel. If paper towel laying on the table and you spill something on it, it just runs, it can't handle that. But a sponge will stop it and soak it in and hold it there, where the paper towel can just dry out, and then you don't have any of that, where the sponge keeps. So if you can kind of have that soil as your sponge to absorb and hold.
Forced me to start asking questions about why this, why that, and so forth. One question leads to 2 more questions, leads to 4 more questions, and that's where the learning really comes into play. I truly like what I do. I want to leave my farm better for the next. That sounds very, very cliche, but I watched these saline areas get bigger since '92. Now I'm finding joy in shrinking them